Hi BookTube, it's Chelsea the Reading Outlaw, and I'm here today to have kind of a discussion video and talk at your face for some minutes about some videos that I just got the chance to watch yesterday while I was at work. I will link all the videos down below. I just wanted to kind of add my 2 cents into the discussion as a librarian and somebody who works in and is passionate about libraries. I first watched Ariel Bisset's video in which her and her British friend Lee talk about how they had gone into a library the other day because Lee needed to print something, and how they don't really use their library anymore and why that is and how they prefer to own their books. And they got a lot of comments and a lot of discussion that took on kind of a negative tone about privilege and checking privilege and about how that may be great for them, but, you know, not everybody can afford to do that and why libraries are important. I then watched Leena from Just Kiss My Frog do kind of a response video in which she talked about how, you know, we're kind of all privileged, not all privileged in a way, but that if you can afford to, you know, cover all your basic needs, feed your family, you know, heat your house, pay your bills, all of that, and you have a fancy cell phone, or you buy, you know, a new nice sweater once a month, or, you know, you go spend your $30 at Target or whatever. It's not, you have privilege. Like, you have the money to buy books. You're just choosing to allocate your money in different ways, which is fine. But that's, you know, that was kind of her point, was that, you know, you can't say that you can't afford books if you have an iPhone, because you could, you just choose to spend your money elsewhere, which is your decision. I then watched, Fran from Fran Off the Gray do a response video to both of those videos. And, you know, I found her video the most interesting because she's also an American. Leena is British and Ariel is from Canada. And so I'm not, and full disclaimer, I do not know much about the British library system or the Canadian library system. Unfortunately, that's not something we learn much about in library school here in the United States, or at least not something I learn much about. And so what they said may entirely pertain to them in their communities, but Fran made some good points that here in the United States, I think it's unfair to say that libraries are dying, because libraries are only dying if we use kind of an antiquated definition of libraries as just like big warehouses of place to get books or do research and information. Because Ariel and Leena are both totally correct in saying that in that way, libraries are obsolete. You know, even as a librarian, I can admit that while I may be able to find you the correct answer verifiably more quickly than Google, where you may have to do some of your own searching and be information literate in order to kind of make some assumptions or to reach some claims about what it is that you're reading, there are ways for you to do research at home on your own, and you don't necessarily need to utilize the library's resources to do that. However, if you look at libraries as more of a center of community, which they are in the United States, or at least are trying very hard to be, then I think it's safe to say that library usage has gone up in the past couple of years. And it's also fair to say that libraries are doing the best they can to work with the resources they have to meet their community need. At my library, we provide a number of resources that reach people in their homes. We have the ability to get an e-card at our library, which allows you to like access to all of our digital services. If you can't come into the library or don't necessarily live in the immediate area, or it's just not practical for you to come, you can get one of those e-cards and you can get access to all of our downloadable ebooks and audiobooks. We participate in a service called Hoopla, which provides like movies and television. And of course, none of these services are perfect, but they are resources for a community that may not otherwise have had access to them. My main kind of thing to say, and my main point in all of this conversation, is that I think what's unfair about what Ariel and Leena said is that I think it's unfair for people to not participate in a system and ask that system to still serve them. At least here in America, the public libraries are funded by American tax dollars. I pay every year for my public library through the tax system. So do you. Everybody does, at least to my knowledge as an American citizen. Please feel free to correct me if that's wrong. But in that way, since you're paying for it, they are there to serve you. We are there to serve you. As a librarian, I love it when people come in and tell me, I want to read this book, purchase this book. I would love to do a program in this subject or to do this craft or to see these things happen. Because there's no better way for us to draw in the community than to offer things that the community wants. And if we can get suggestions, then we can put it out to other people. And you never know what suggestion you may have or, book that you may want to read that so do a dozen other people. And they just haven't said anything to their libraries because they don't participate in the system. And so I think it's important to note that libraries are there for their communities. Libraries are there to serve us. We are open as public institutions. As such, we provide resources that kind of go beyond just digital audiobooks. We provide access to the internet and the ability to print and copy for people who don't have who don't have the access to do that elsewhere. We provide working Wednesdays in which people are allowed to come in and work with our librarians on formatting resumes or practicing mock job interviews and working on, bettering their situations within the community. I work in Kansas City, which is an urban community. We have a large African American and Hispanic population that comes in, so we offer services in Spanish as well as English. We're constantly looking to cater to diversity and diverse books. I just think that there are a lot of merits to the library system that can be missed if we only view it as a place to go get books and to store books or to check out books. I thought Fran made a really great point that people don't realize a lot of the resources that libraries have in terms of new media. We have some of the newest movies that come out as soon as they're available in DVD. And, you don't have to pay to check them out from us. You have to bring them back on time. So yes, there's a note of responsibility in that. But, you wait a couple of extra days and you can get Game of Thrones season 4 or the newest season of The Wire, or you can get the whole back catalog of dozens of shows, Friends and Seinfeld and some of these things that, if you don't have Netflix or Hulu or don't have internet access to those outlets, you may not have that media otherwise. Sorry, Penny's walking around. So I just think that it's important, and I just wanted to add my voice to the conversation, saying that one of the things that I think we owe to, ourselves as readers and to our communities is to participate in the library at least a little bit. So, or at least we can't, we can absolve ourselves from, how am I trying to say this? I stand by the maxim, if you don't vote, then don't bitch. So it's kind of that same attitude for me. Like you can't talk about how the library doesn't offer services to suit you if you've never been to the library to tell them what suits you. We are not mind readers and we can only do the best that we can in terms of providing for our community. So that's not to place any shame or judgment. And I do want to say that I know that both Ariel and Lee, as well as Leena, have asserted that they did not say that libraries are not important. That's not what I'm trying to accuse them of. I fully understand that they did not say that libraries should be shut down, that we should, not have libraries. I would have preferred the Ariel not caller video burned the libraries, I think was what it's called. Like, I get it. It's like a catchy title, I guess, but it's just when you have that many followers, it's not necessarily like something I'm super excited about. But I just think that, it's important to say that they did not disparage libraries existing. They just said that they don't use their libraries because they don't offer services. On a side note, I also read a lot of comments saying that people had very bad experiences with libraries or librarians, shushing them, being mean to them, being resentful to helping them, to, being told they couldn't eat or drink, to not being able to do, those things that make them comfortable in the library so they could stay for an extended period of time. And I just want to apologize to those people that they've had those very unfortunate situations. But I would just ask them to remember not to let one bad apple, spoil a whole crop. And that sometimes, librarians are human and we have bad days and we snap at patrons, unfortunately. We try really hard not to, but sometimes it happens. And if you had a bad experience at one library with one librarian, try again. And if it happens dozens of times, maybe it's just bad luck because we're not all like that. Several of the libraries in our system, in fact, all the libraries in our system allow drinks with lids that screw on, allow food that doesn't leave a mess or that you clean up after yourselves. We provide quiet spaces if you're interrupted by loud noises. It's just, I think that there are merits to it if you can just look beyond some of the more antiquated ways we think about libraries. That's really all I wanted to say. Please add your voice to the conversation down below. I would love to hear what you have to say. Like, subscribe. See you around the internet, guys. It's really early, so I'm sorry if any of this was coherent, but like I said, I just felt like as a librarian, I needed to add my voice to the conversation. Bye.